Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Okay. Do you have any parts that you'd like to get to know better? Change your relationship with?
I do. You
can start wherever you like.
There have been a bunch of scraps kind of floating around in my mind for the past few months, and I've been trying to address them with IFS to the extent that I understand it. And sometimes things crystallize, certain parts have crystallized, but I've been unable to be systematic about it. And all of it seems related to this moment also a few months ago when a certain event just brought all these firefighters, protectors, exiles, just suddenly surfaced, just this host of parts that were in a crisis suddenly. And I've been trying to kind of do a head count and, get them onboarded or whatever, get their names and their details or whatever since then for these months. And I could tell something about each one of them, but I feel that the reason I come to you is that I'm hoping that some kind of facilitation with someone who is a parts detector and can do this is necessary at this point. They're all just sort of scattered and fragmented, and I think sometimes two of them are the same part, and one that I think is one is actually two. And do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So, I could sort of tell you the moment that all of these parts came to life.
You could. It might not be necessary, but it's up to you.
Okay.
I have questions about the parts if you...
Let's hear your questions.
You mentioned doing a head count of protectors.
Yeah.
Do you, in doing that, have you also come across any exiles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're included in your count? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my main question.
Yeah.
And you have a good understanding of the differences and how those relationships tend to work.
I do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my only question, I think, about that.
I mean, I can tell you about maybe the 3 protectors that came into kind of clarity first, maybe.
Okay.
One was a figure that is very quick to forgive and kind of pious, like just like a high priestess of forgiveness or something.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, I had a very difficult and humiliating divorce years ago when my husband left for a friend of mine, and my children were very young, and so suddenly my friend was the stepmother to my very little children. And I at the time had to kind of commit to just a lot of repression, because I couldn't continue to mother these children while I was actively in the kind of pain that I was in.
Yeah.
And turn the kids over to her. And so one of the things that appeared as a possible option was to forgive, really abandon, and just say, like, let's call her Alice. Like, Alice is just a great friend of mine, and I understand her and what went into her motives, and I don't want to hold on to this resentment, and I'm just putting it down. And so, we began to socialize and spend a lot of time together, and I took a great deal of pride in having forgiven her and getting credit for having forgiven her. So that was one of the protectors that had been very active for me. And it was such a point of pride, psychological pride, or like spiritual pride, that I was blended with it. It's like part of my reputation that, like, this embarrassing, horrible thing happened, and yet she rose above it. And then another one is this, like, crazy vindictive. So that was that protector. I don't know when that protector made her appearance, but that moment of the divorce was 12 years ago. There's another one that's younger, who's, like, really vindictive and undermining, and is kind of the opposite, who's, like, very, or feels herself to be very good at getting revenge and destroying someone's life. And, like, at the time, some friends of mine were gunning for me to, like, go whatever, the kind of, like, slash your tires approach to a level, right? And I didn't
this
do
part
that.
like that.
You want that? This part
liked that.
This part liked that, and this part had a lot of even better ideas, like, just rooting for karma, that, like, took some pleasure in all the problems that this Alice has had since, seen that as, like, and, did, like, little sly things to be sure that, like, she didn't get this job she wanted, and was just flexing a lot of power, just like, fuck around and find out, or whatever. And so there's that side too. And obviously that was at odds with the forgiveness, but the best winning protector combo was when the forgiveness side took the high ground, and the vindictive side was, like, working behind the scenes to be sure that, this person wouldn't bother her, right? Or, like,
win-win.
So, like, double team, great double team. And then, God, I'm forgetting now. Those were the first 2 to appear, and then there's a third.
And these ones you've named so far are also relevant to and coming up in the recent
event. But I think maybe that third one I'm not going to push. I'll just let her come up. I mean, she'll come up soon, I can tell, but I don't have her right now. And then I did get, those two seem to be protecting this exile who was just like, felt herself to be totally betrayed and humiliated. Like just this 9-year-old girl kind of pointlessly and showily like writing in a notebook to try to be like, about all this pain that had happened after a betrayal, and just crying and red-faced and just like disgraced and betrayed,
Yeah.
And to some extent, she's been a bit unburdened. She was writing in my image of her. And at first I sort of thought the writing was like kind of embarrassing. Like she's like journaling to try to whatever, like she's not a very strong person. But later the exile was like, I'm writing and I like this, And so like now she has like, I can see her just like curtain of hair, but just a slight smile that she's like making turns of phrases and writing cool little poems. And she's often just like, leave me alone, I got this, and I check in on her all the time and she's always doing great now. So that's been a kind of a great part of this. But then there are these other kind of spidery things that have come into the picture. And I could sort of tell you about those other parts, or maybe there's enough to pursue as is. What do you think?
I think whatever, the first question is about parts that you'd like to change your relationship with.
Yeah.
And so you might look at them, try to arrange them in that order, or pull them about who needs your attention most, or which of those relationships feels most strained.
I think that I'm glad to have told you about those parts to give you a sense of some of the cast of characters, but I think there are probably some others that I have a more sticky relationship with that have not come into focus. But I could, so the way that a few months ago, basically what happened is that the moment that some of this stuff started to be activated, including some firefighters, was that my daughter, who was like a baby when my husband and Alice started hooking up, and B, ended up taking custody or half custody of the kids. My daughter was a baby, and now she's 13. And a few months ago in September, she really started to turn to Alice to help her with this important event. And at some point essentially said, Alice is my real mother. And it just felt like a crisis. It was just like, why did I ever do this forgiveness thing? I should have just I should have definitely slashed her tires and worse. I should have taken her to court for everything. I never should have been spiritual for a second and lost the way of, my just more vindictive chops. What is happening to me that I couldn't work a serious vengeance, and now she's fully taken my child? And it was and then I'm also my daughter doesn't trust me because through no fault of my own, she ended up sleeping, being apart from me for the, half of her childhood. And, formed this relationship with this person who completely betrayed me. And so then I start to think my daughter doesn't trust me, but then that turns into I don't trust myself. There's a part of me that doesn't trust myself, or that can't trust myself, or can't trust itself, or there's some confusing image where Alice my daughter and my own parts, and are all scrambled in my head. And I'll picture my daughter as like really, really injured, like she's in exile. And then, whenever I see her, even though she doesn't like me very much, she's like plenty self-realized. I mean, I think I asked you about this on Discord, like, could she just be a part of part of me?
Yeah.
And you said, no, she's got her own parts. And every time I see the actual girl that is my daughter, I see a, awesome punk kid, like, whatever, who's like, she's very outrageous and awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think somehow that's the mother, the way that you're expected to kind of mother or like the self is sort of a leader for the parts, and the parts can sometimes seem like my children. My parts can seem like the children of myself or something. Then that blows in my head with this girl who is my real daughter, if that makes any sense. And I think that there's a way in there, like, I'm definitely like, when I think about the early days when my husband left from Alice, I just think about how hard it was to hand her over to her stepmom as if this was normal, And then also when she was like not in her crib and just going to her room and sleeping on the floor and just wondering in my postpartum state, like, how did this happen that my baby's gone? And then like to be reminded, like almost just like in a sci-fi film, like, my friend was like sleeping with my husband the whole time I was having a baby, and now the baby belongs to the friend. It's just like I would just tell myself that all of the time, and just constantly run up against, how did this happen to me? How could this happen to anyone? How is this legal? And that was, so that me that's like lying beside the crib, my daughter, when I handed her over, all of those things seem like my parts, right? Like there's, does that make any sense? Even though these are like in history.
Yes. And when I answered that, no, your daughter isn't a part of you, the flip side is that, of course, you could have, parts that are very, very identified with her and or mirroring her in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. I was also really affected by when you said to someone who was talking about sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse, that don't worry for now about whether it happened empirically in the world, because that question can like trip us up, so like me wants to be like, well, like explain more, give you more details so that I'm not being unfair to Alice or
right? Yes, I have that too.
You do? Yeah. Like as if there's like a court case and like, well, to be fair, but of course our emotional lives are just like filled with like all kinds of melodrama and that doesn't give other people a fair shake and whatever else. So I'm grateful to know that it doesn't have to be completely true, like a piece of journalism or something, to what happens.
Right. Yeah, it's all an emotional landscape. And the dates are always fuzzy, and it's all hard to put out there in any objective way. Even to talk about it can be really difficult.
So maybe the part I want to get to know better is the part that identifies with my daughter, my baby daughter, being handed back and forth and not trusting. Because I just feel like I'm her in those scenes,
Okay. And it feels, when you say identifies with the baby daughter, so it feels like a baby age kind of part. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like like a baby that's like, now why do I have to go here? Why do I have to go here? And none of this is making sense, and all these decisions are being made for by someone else from me. They're the whole architecture of my life. Like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. Okay. And you've noticed this part before, you've attempted to get more clarity about it before, right?
Yeah, but more in thinking like of all the things that I, as a mother, did wrong. So I sort of am like, there's a different part of this where I'm not thinking of myself as the baby. And like, if you think there are three characters in the scene, like Alice, the stepmother, me, and or me, the other mother, and then a baby in the middle. Mm-hmm. Usually when I go over it in my head, I'm just totally blended with the mother in the scene. And I'm worrying about the baby in the scene, my actual baby, instead of identifying with, or instead of like seeing the baby as a part of me. Does that make any sense at all?
It makes sense if they're all parts. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And if and yes, if they're all people too, that would also make sense that three people would be in that dynamic. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the dynamic is of those three parts.
So the worrying mother.
Yeah. The abandoned, betrayed mother who has to give up her child. The child who's completely confused and destabilized and just confused and hurt. And I don't think I've yet made Alice a part of me, but so I think that I'm the first two, but probably not the stepmother.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would suggest that we start with that. Of these three, I would suggest we start with the mother.
Okay. Yeah.
If that feels right for you.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So, worrying, abandoned, betrayed, confused and hurt.
Yeah, I'm like robbed. Like my child has been kidnapped or something.
Okay.
Its child has been kidnapped. Yeah.
Okay. How do you notice that in your body? What's the sensation like?
Just it's in my throat, just like closing. It's kind of a strangled feeling.
Anything else you notice about it? Just in the body?
Yeah. Maybe like my collarbones and shoulders. Like my arms are empty because someone just took a baby out of it, empty arms.
Okay. And how are you feeling towards this part as you notice it there?
Just a huge amount of compassion and just pity and kind of afraid of her, afraid of like how deprived she feels and despairing she is, like I just don't quite want to get sucked into her problems.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to be overwhelmed by all that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's check in with that part that has that concern about being overwhelmed. I'm guessing that it's been very overwhelming, right? Historically, when this part is blended with you.
Yeah. Which, by the way, doesn't happen that much because this part is pretty locked away,
Right.
Like I'm remarried and I don't think I've ever talked to my husband about it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's only naturally because I just met you, so of course I should bring it up into a Zoom screen. Yeah, how do yeah, it's very, very overwhelming to blend or let this part anywhere near me.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it kind of sounds to me like that worrying mother is herself has been exiled, right?
Yeah.
Her feelings are not okay.
Yeah.
And there are parts that really want to keep that away.
Yeah, she's
Does that sound right?
Desperate. And yeah, that's it. And she's clinging. Like it's not like she's like a good mother. She's just someone that like she just feels something that's hers has just been taken away, and she just is, she's expected to be an adult about it. She's expected to be cool about it or
Yeah.
So
I would suggest, and feel free to not do any of this or change direction if it doesn't feel right, but I would suggest letting her know that you'll get to her and that we need to check in with some of these parts that have been wanting to exile her, the ones that are afraid of her, the ones that have the concerns that she'll overwhelm you.
Okay.
Just to respect these parts that have that very valid fear or concern.
Okay. That involves a little unblending with her, I think, because
yeah.
It's a hard one. It's hard to conjure her without blending.
Right. Which makes sense. She's very powerful.
Yeah.
And even if our next goal was to get to know her, we would need to do some unblending. So
yeah,
it's good thing to practice.
Okay.
Just asking her for a little space.
Yeah, I see a place where she can sit. And
Great.
Sometimes, yeah, if she can just find something to do that is, even though she doesn't have the baby, if she can find something to do that feels like it's like mothering, even though the kid's not there, like organizing photographs or something like that. I could ask her to do like, fix the curtains or like, order clothes for the kids or something like that. Yeah. Then I think she's okay for a while.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thank her and let her know that we're coming back for her.
Okay.
Okay. So the parts that are concerned, the ones that want to keep that away.
Yeah. Yep.
What are they telling you? What's their message, or how are they showing up?
Right. One of them is very like, you have shit to do. Like, you are now a single mom, and I've got to, this is like the part is saying like, I've got to make a living right? Like
Yeah.
I have to pay off this divorce. I have to, like, at the time my divorce lawyer was like, you be a legend. Like, that's like, so it's like this, the protector is like, sorry, but there is no time to sit around and weep about this. Like,
Right.
you now have to pay this mortgage yourself. You have expensive, you have, yeah, you've got to like make plans now for the kids, make travel plans and stuff, and hold down like a huge job. And you
Right.
don't like, we'll set aside a little time for you to grieve, but it's going to be limited. And we're going to do like a bunch of self-improvement shit on top of everything else. And lots of time in the gym. And, I should start, you got to start dating, just like stay organized. If you like you think that falling into a puddle is making you a good mother, like, that's right. It's like, you just have so much shit to do. Like, get it together.
Yeah. Manager.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Does that all make sense to you, what that part's saying and wanting for you?
Yeah, definitely.
Great. You said that was one. Is there some other parts that don't want you to get to know this grieving part or this exiled mother part?
I think, I don't know if it's quite a manager, but there's a part that's like, granted. It's very nihilistic. It's like, granted, that is the absolute end of the world to be with, with this person, with this part. But if you're not going to commit suicide right now, you just have to like resign yourself to like this shitty life that you have. And you can't go down that road. Like, if that makes any sense, it's something that's like less like, get up and go, you got to make this life work, and more like, you have two choices right now, like kind of death and life or death. And you're choosing death and life, and we're doing it, and we're in zombie mode, and like, we're just going for it because the only other choice is to absolutely give in to that thing. And then you're dead. So it's like really grim. Like, life is so fucking long. We've got all these decades. But if you've decided you're not going to commit suicide, then all you can do is just like, grind down and just be.
Yeah. Okay. So it sees that other part as being the death that is worse than the death in life.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, that part's welcome too.
It's good because he's sort of it's not usually a very welcome figure. He's kind of an asshole.
Yeah. It's his job.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the stronger ones. Are there more that feel like they're coming up around that?
Yeah, there is. There's this really high-minded, high road, like, this is happening for me, not to me, like spiritual bypassing, like, but more convincing than that, more like this is a dark night of the soul, and I'm 41, and this is, I want to feel everything in life, and this is giving me more compassion for others, and this is exactly what I should be doing. And there's something incredibly beautiful in this level of suffering. and my capacity to bear it and my capacity to grow from it. And I'm just going to lean into this as this like ennobling martyrdom or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's probably closest to me most of the time. Like I'll look back on that and I'll be like, oh yeah, that time when everything was in Technicolor and I was becoming a saint or something.
Okay. And so that one you feel like has more strength than, for example, that manager that has no time to cry. And
yeah. That one has a lot of strength. And like I feel like that part in me feels like really like a major chord, like a beautiful, expansive, elegant, like a way that all the rough places are made smooth or something,
yeah.
Like, this thing that looked terrible is actually great. Like the way, and when it comes across is when it like talks to other people who consult me about their suffering, and in particular kind of divorces and custody stuff. And I just, I'm just like, it's all going to be wonderful, like, and feels confident in that moment that, suffering like is a chrysalis,
All right. I have a lot of questions for that part.
Okay.
But I'm happy to hear if there are others that are in this mix. I mean, you started out talking about getting a head count and
right. There's one more that's just not showing herself, but I think as we talk, maybe she'll reemerge.
Okay. So because this high road one, you said you feel most identified with it of those three?
Yeah. And
would
also
that be
good feelings, like really good feelings associated with it.
Yeah. Okay. Would that be a good part to get to know a little bit right now?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought of that.
Great. All right. How are you feeling towards that part?
Kind of proud, a little like she's like a kind of a harmless fraud, just like, oh, that's fun, like good for you that you try to like spin those stories and like they do make you and other people feel good and there's no harm in them. And also you're so good at it, like good at your job.
Yeah. So can you contact her now and let her know that you see her role and that you have that appreciation for it?
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe ask her what she thinks about that other part, that mother part, and what her concerns are about you going to her.
Well, her concern is that I'll see that the pain hasn't all been like through some alchemy turned into glory, that some of it is just pain.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Maybe you could ask more, like, what would be so bad about that?
And like, you might know that this like quick solution of saying, that that suffering or martyrdom or something is like ennobling is not a whole solution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in other words, you'll know that I've been like selling you a bill of goods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were able to let her know that you see how important it was for her to do that and that you do value her role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely can do that. She seems like a like awesome Olympic soccer player right now who like, you know, it seemed like she kind of promised that she could win every game and then like just maybe lost just now, you know, and it's like I couldn't win all of them. But I'm still so grateful for her.
Yeah. You say lost just now, like when, right,
Yeah.
just when you're bringing that up and she can see that you already can see.
Exactly. That the pain is, there's still pain there, that she on some level overpromised that she'd be able to like beat it back every time or sell her story every time. And sometimes she can't, you know?
Mm-hmm. She tried her best.
Yeah, she tried her best. And I mean, she has been heroic.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool what she looks like. She's just like got these awesome broad shoulders.
Yeah. How old does she think that you are?
She just sees me as a lot weaker than she is. So maybe like extremely old or extremely young. Yeah, maybe like just like a disabled in some way, almost like an 8-year-old in a wheelchair or an 80-year-old in a wheelchair. I can't write quite sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The physical disability.
So is there a way that you can kind of invite her to notice you more? Get closer to her, get her, just kind of reveal yourself more to her?
Yeah.
As you currently are?
Yeah. I can. Like I sort of just like I know, you know, she's like 23 or something and super athletic. And so I'm just telling her like, it's true I'm 53, but that does not mean I'm 80. Like it seems like a lot older than you, you know?
Right.
But it, like you've sort of underestimated how much I can also do for myself.
Yeah. And is she seeing that? Does she see that you're not 80?
Yeah, she's laughing because she had to admit that like that she didn't really think 53-year-olds were capable of that much. And like, of course, you're right. Not everyone's like a 23-year-old Olympian. Yeah, she does see that. I think she likes it.
Is there anything that she would rather be doing with her time if she didn't have to, or her energy, if she didn't have to work so hard?
Yeah, she doesn't want to keep having to just win. Like she has these like high level spiritual skills, gold medal spiritual skills, but she doesn't want to have to do them toward winning, use them toward just winning, like subduing a rival, you know? She wants to explore and play instead of keeping like this continually having to defeat this other thing, basically pain, you know?
Right.
Eat it back.
Right.
She does not want to like sit down and rest. She wants to like keep playing soccer or whatever weird sport that she does, but she just doesn't want to have to do it like to bring back victories.
And how does she feel about the idea of you, I'll use the word, defeating the pain by getting to know it?
She's like, have at it. Like, go ahead. I mean, she's like, knock yourself out. I mean, she doesn't know that it'll work, but she is happy not to have to keep fighting, and kind of just wants to go like kick the soccer ball around on her own and do some fun stuff with her friends. And yeah, she's kind of like going to talk to this exile. The pain is not her jam, but
right.
If I think it's worth doing, she's all for it.
Nice. Sounds like you two have a nice style of communicating and quick understanding of each other.
Yeah. Definitely feel like I look up to her a bit.
I wonder about the looking up. I wonder if there is a part in you that feels disabled.
Yeah.
Is that the part that looks up to her in that way?
Yeah, like from a chair. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's true.
What else do you notice about that part?
She's like kind of reclusive and sedentary and needs other people to do things for her, like, oh, I'll get those groceries delivered, or I'll ask those strong people to go do things for her, you know? And I think is just like kind of paring down the things that she feels she can do, like, oh, I don't drive anymore, or I don't go to that kind of thing anymore. Yeah, she's kind of like literally disabled. Like she just has a small range of things she feels she can do.
Okay. And how are you being with her and feeling towards her?
It's really nice not to be blended with her. Like,
yeah.
It's just all that's good about. I mean, I feel good about her because she's not me. I feel good being like, yeah, that's a way to be.
Yeah. And does she notice you?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's kind of cool about her is she's limited all these things that she can do, but so that it's down to one thing, which is writing. And she does that really well because she's taken so many things off the table. So yeah, she's kind of like this grandmotherly novelist or something. And she feels good to be seen. She's a little bit like that other little girl who's writing part, that she's just kind of amused and doesn't want to be bothered with the writing. I mean, distracted from the writing.
It's really interesting. Earlier you said you didn't know if the part was 8 or 80. The little girl is 9.
Yes.
Right? And this
That's
part
right.
is grandmotherly. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How are we doing with our head count here?
I don't know. You're the one probably keeping track, I hope.
Well, I what I really meant was the quality. Is this helpful?
It's so helpful. It's so helpful. Yeah, just even that point of like, I look up to her and like, yeah, exactly. And also the 80-year-old being at the same height as that 8 or 9-year-old. I actually have thought she might be 8 at times. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's really helpful. It's also helpful for the self because my like happiest tingling moments of self energy are also writing energy, like just very creative. And both of those two parts, while they're like, you know,
they're stuck.
Still yes, they're stuck, but they also still write. Both of them. So they've tunneled down what they can do to so few things, but at least that one thing is this great, is writing. So that is happy when I look at them because I'm like, that is actually a quality of self that I really like. If that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just looking at the clock. We've talked for an hour. I can talk longer.
I can talk longer, but I don't want to hold you. I know you do this a lot.
Well, like my question is, where would you go next, or where would you want to go next, given all that? Forgetting about when we're getting off the phone, but just what would feel right as far as next steps?
I think I try to see if the Olympian protector would, like, while she's out in the soccer field, I think I would go to that mother, and go closer to the exile.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Even understanding that the relationship between self and that Olympian part is, needs more attention.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want to do some of that now, even if we're not able to go very far deep, just in the, just because of time? Do you want to get back to that mother now? Does that feel right?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I'm getting a charger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great, yes, I would like to do that.
And there were other protectors that we met around this. So you might want to just check in one last time and check in with your own energy about your feelings of, will contacting this part be overwhelming for you? Is that still a concern?
No, I feel like when the Olympian kind of gave me permission and was like, have at it, I felt a great, like, don't mind if I do. I'm ready,
Great. Okay. So can you get back to her?
Yeah.
And now how are you feeling towards her?
I suddenly just saw a little bit of like, well, she's a little bit much. Like she's a little bit, in a way that I can get, like, I just saw her as like a Virgin Mary or something, or like holding a baby like Pietà, like Jesus. And that felt a little bit like, oh, we're, taking ourselves pretty seriously in 2011, like, right? Yeah, she seems, to, like looking at someone that you sort of know that they won't be that hard to make laugh or help cheer up, or, like they're not like gone. They're
so
like,
you're seeing more of her than just that outward projection of the drama, the emotion.
yeah, I'm definitely not blended with her right now.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she kind of seems like, I mean, I know the Virgin Mary thing, but also seems like she's like a little kid, like with like a cake smashed or something that's like, it seems bad now, but we all can tell that it'll be fine. um, like, because there's another interesting thing about her, which is like, it wasn't the worst thing in the world to have to like to get a break from the kids, right? So like,
right,
she got a lot of done. She got sleep.
right.
She got, and she kind of, and that's also a little secret, which is like kind of fun,
Yeah.
like,
yeah. So you can let her know that you're here and that you're in a place now where you can see her better.
Yeah.
And are you feeling curious about getting to know her?
Yeah.
More. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just let her know that.
Okay.
See how she responds and what she wants you to know.
She likes that. I mean, she just was like, no one has ever seen me as anything but just an object of pity, like, oh, that's a deserted mom who, she had a baby and her husband left her and ran off with a friend, and like we all know who that is. She's just like lost, she can't have any interior life or any, thoughts or any like cool projects. Like she's just the like dregs of existence, she's just top-five.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's more to me.
Right. But she does still have those feelings of sadness and desperation.
Yes. But interestingly, she's sort of trying to say that she knows she looks desperate to the world. She certainly knows she definitely knows she looked desperate to Alice, like when Alice was taking the baby. So part of it is how she looks to the world. But what she's glad right now is that we're sort of asking about her whole experience. Like, not just, I know the world thinks I'm a loser, and so do you. But she has other thoughts, like thoughts that are like, I know this is a really this is an unconventional path and it doesn't look really good, but I'm up to some cool stuff that,
yeah. Yeah. She had this sense that other people could only see her as a loser.
Yeah.
And it sounds like It sounds like earlier the protectors that we met probably in some way would also look at her that way. I mean,
Yes.
one is seeing her as suicidal or as death. The
Right.
other is seeing her as a waste of time, to when you have things to do.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
the Olympian, I'm guessing, sees her kind of like something to be defeated.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Exactly. But
Right.
from inside, she's like, she's like, I'm gonna date. I'm gonna date, and I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna accomplish all these things, and in this negative space that people think it's just death and humiliation and defeat, is actually all this like generative cool stuff. Like, I'm not just a divorcee or a childless woman. I'm a person who like has all these other skills. Like, it's kind of like sexy and free and single, like, but, and that may be at odds with the fact that I sort of seem pitiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So
but
maybe
it does carry a serious, like, I'm humiliated. Like, it's just very much about the humiliation.
Right.
Like, what kind of woman loses her baby? Like, I'm a person that had my baby taken from me, so I must be abusive and neglectful and a bad person.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you can just let her know you see all that. You've seen how people or your own parts have seen her as a loser, how she's come to internalize that.
Yeah.
How she's dealing with that pain of so many things, but just the humiliation.
Yeah. She's also like, I guess the fact that she sees imaginative and, romantic possibilities in these hours by herself also contributes to her idea that she's a bad person and a bad mother, because unless you lie around missing your kid the whole time they're with their other parent, you feel like, you're like some like just awful revolving door single divorcee who parks her kid in front of the TV and brings home 3 guys or whatever.
Right. So that's been an important part of her parts of her strategy or response, is to show that high drama and sadness in order to keep anyone from seeing any of the upsides that she might be experiencing. Or
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You got to see bad too. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough balancing act for her. But I guess, yeah, I'm humiliated and betrayed is definitely the major story. That she holds on to. A lot of like, what kind of mother does this?
Yeah. And so I'll suggest that, the next process with her is to just continue witnessing that and to understand what it's been like for her, and kind of just the nuance of all the different pressures and everything she was dealing with, and to really try to fully understand her story.
Yeah.
In this place from self, of course. So that would be witnessing, right? Mm-hmm.
It just that it never occurred to me till you said it, to like that she was a part, but she so much is. And yeah, this is like how IFS goes the next distance, because yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say beyond that, except that the blending happens like it did in the beginning of this session,
right.
so with her, that I don't even have a breath before I'm there. If I even talk about her at all, I become her,
Right.
But this time we managed to like slow down, and that is incredible. It really is like just so revelatory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you. So again, that's what I would suggest. If we are going to end the conversation now, that's where I would say to bookmark it. Or if you're comfortable doing that work on your own, to just bookmark that in your work of hearing her out and witnessing all the things that were going on for her and what it's been like for her.
I will do that. I do. I don't find it hard to check in with parts. But it's good to be able to check in with her. And I would love to talk to you again.
Yeah, me too. Sounds fun.
Good. How do I do that? Well, you can explain to me off the mic.
Yeah. Yep. I will, I'll send you links to book more time.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other parts have any questions or concerns? Feedback for me? Commitments you want to make? Anything at all?
No, this just was like better. It's been a decade or more since I started thinking about IFS, and I've never had any kind of facilitated session, and I've heard so many, so of yours in particular. So it's just it's like exceeded my highest expectations.
All right. Great. Okay, let's do it again sometime.
Excellent. Thanks,
okay.
James.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.